Hey everyone, welcome to the Smiling Homeschooler podcast. We'll get started here in just a second, but as you can see, we have a special guest who we will introduce. But before we do, we just want to say thank you to Teaching Textbooks for making the Smiling Homeschooler possible. They're an amazing math curriculum and an amazing company. If you haven't checked them out, or if you're thinking about what you're going to be doing next school year, go check them out. You can get a free trial over at their website, teachingtextbooks.com. Today's show is also being underwritten by Samaritan Ministries and Redeem Health Share, where members are committed to honoring Christ, and they are a community of Christians that pay one another's medical bills, helping families take a safe step of faith as they feel God's leading in career or in ministry changes or in bringing mom home. And you can learn more in the show notes or clicking the link in the Facebook post about Redeem by Samaritan Ministries. But Dad, if you're ready, go ahead and get started. Let's go.
Hey, we are, and we have a special guest with us today, Jim Hodges. If you've been around for very long in the homeschool circles, I'm sure you've heard his product, maybe heard his voice. If you've ever been to a homeschool convention, which we all recommend, you've come across this guy, usually on a corner booth, who has his, I know these round things, maybe these round things that sit out that you put in a CD player. But Jim Hodges, if you're watching this live, you'll see that his background is hovering up over the planet Earth. So he's a high-tech guy. So before we get into all that, Jim, we're talking about tools homeschoolers can put in their toolbox. You offer a great tool for homeschoolers and really families everywhere. I've kind of already given away a little bit of the farm there, but tell us what you do and how you got into it.
I record books using my own voice to read them cover to cover, every word, unabridged recordings. I got into it in 1999, which was the last year of my Navy career. My wife and I had gone out at the beginning of that year on our weekly date night to Cracker Barrel, and she said, "So what are you going to do after you get out of the Navy?" And I said, "I don't know. I'm a good admin guy. We live in the state capital of Oklahoma. I've got Tinker Air Force Base here. If I can't get a job pushing paper somewhere, there's got to be something wrong with me." She said, "No, I didn't mean that. I meant, what would you do if you could do anything you wanted to do and it would provide for us?" I said, "Oh, piece of cake. I'd record books." She kind of looked at me like, okay, wait.
She wasn't ready for that one, right?
No. So I've known you for 20 years, and we've been married for 19, and we've got 3 kids, and this is the first time I've ever heard anything about this. So where on earth did that crazy man idea come from? And I said, well, I've been reading out loud since I was in 2nd grade. I would always volunteer to read a passage of the book or do the film strips or theater and choir, and I've always liked to perform, and people told me all the time that I had a nice speaking voice and I read well. And in the back of my head, since I was 10, I'd always thought it would be cool to be self-employed so I didn't have to go to a job. So I joined the Navy and spent 20 years in the Navy, and then decided I really don't want other people telling me what to do anymore. So if I could record books, if I could stay home and record books and make a living at that, that would be my dream job. And she said the magic words, "Let's try that."
Wow.
So
well, I know lots of our kids, lots of listening kids have heard your voice, have heard your books. What kind of books do you record? I mean, I know you've done some of our Christmas books, so I know that. But what other kind of books would someone expect from Jim Hodges?
I think Cootie McKay is the favorite story I've ever recorded. But I started with George Alfred Henty historically accurate adventure novels. He was wildly popular in homeschooling circles at that time. I don't believe he is so as much anymore, but I'm still a huge fan of his books. He creates a character, a fictional character, who's almost as good a guy as Ben, almost. And so,
so I'm sure I'd be friends with William Wallace if I lived back then.
Yeah, see?
Ben the Briton.
Yeah, that's right. I'm only like 2 letters off that. So,
But he's a really, really fine young man who's had some knocks and blows in life. Very often he's either an orphan or his father has passed, and he's trying to take care of his mother. And he sets out in life as a kind of a junior position and works his way up through the ranks of whatever organization he's affiliated with, almost always an army. And he participates in all of the battles and all of the history and meets all the famous people. And at the end of the book, he has gotten a lot of success, a lot of promotions, a lot of wealth, and he gets the girl. So it's a great storyline, but they come from all different periods of history.
Yeah, it's astounding, honestly.
I've recorded 39 of them, Ben, and I still have 80 to go.
Yeah, it's incredible how many he wrote. And this is like back before
nuts.
like the internet, so he couldn't just pull it all up. I mean, he had to do like tough research, you know.
He did research. The thing that he never did do though was handwrite the stories.
Yeah.
He was a narrator. And so he would pace back and forth after he had done all of his research. He would pace back and forth in his little office, and his manuensis, which is the name for secretary during the 19th century, would scribble in the corner of the room. And then, formalize it, bring it all back to him. He'd make corrections. They'd send it off to the printer, and they'd publish it. And he'd go back to the library and grab a bunch of books on another historical period and start working on the next book. He was under contract for 3 or 4 books a year with Blackie and Son.
That's crazy.
And he didn't, I don't think he ever missed a deadline. I mean,
and really what I like as a parent, as a homeschool parent, is that it reinforces a lot of the things that I want my kids to know. Yes. I mean, really he's a good person, who maybe learns some lessons along the way. And the things that I would want my children to learn. And I know that, again, as we talk about tools, I mean, I feel like these are, and Ben, maybe you would agree, these kind of stories ignite history.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, ignite the love for history, because 100%. It's no longer just in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue, or it's not even, I mean, that's the good stuff right there. I mean, but if, that's a good date that you can kind of remember with a poem. But there's a lot of other stuff that just feels like, oh, it's another date. It's another person, another general. Who cares? I mean, these aren't, but these fictional people interact with real people.
Right.
And really they're just, and it's so much fun because they're not short little recordings. They're long recordings.
No, the shortest one is 7.5 hours, and the longest one is 13 hours and 19 minutes. Unbelievable. That was Beric the Briton. That one.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, I mean, if you have kids at all, I mean, even if they're not that interested, this is a great way to get in. I mean, I do think they obviously are written a long time ago, but I mean, growing up, I thought they held up. I never had any issue once I got used to reading or listening to them. And just, it makes history come alive. But kind of on that, like, no, what do you think, as the mom, we're talking about, so the idea of talking about tools, just the value of good books and listening to books as a family, and how I mean, I assume you sell them, so you've thought about just the, your place in a homeschooling life.
Never crossed my mind.
Yeah, exactly. But maybe just give that, because I think audiobooks are incredible. I mean, I listen to one every day as I'm driving to work, and back. So good. Give the mom why audiobooks as a family is so important.
Well, for one, it sure beats staring at a screen. Mm-hmm. Your brain has to make the movie. I think that's one of the greatest values of a book or an audiobook, is that your brain has to make the movie. And frankly, I don't remember the lines that people said. I remember the movie that I created in my head while I was reading or while I was listening. I am a visual learner, so honestly, I love to read books. I can't listen to them. I've listened to one audiobook in my life, but I'm not an auditory learner. I had to make myself, it was a great book, but I really had to force my concentration on it. So for kids that are auditory learners, or if you've got a dyslexic or somebody who's struggling with reading or is really just not that interested, they're unabridged recordings. So you can give them the book and they can follow along in the text. So you get a double whammy. But I think I think the best two things about the Henty novels are you learn history, but the hero character, he's just the finest young man you would ever want to meet. I call him every mother's dream son because he's active, but he's not reckless. He's respectable and respectful. He's deferential to the legitimate authorities that he has in his life. He treats every woman he meets like a mother or an aunt or a sister because that's the way men are supposed to treat women. He doesn't make any presumptions to, anything more than that until he's financially set to take on the responsibility of a wife, or he's old enough to have lived long enough to kind of know what he. So it's like all the
or
right
slain 10,000 people.
Well, you got to get a few scalps under your belt, I guess. But he's just a really fine young man, and so between the two of them, the other thing is, frankly, Henty went to Cambridge. He wasn't stupid, and he was in the military, and his vocabulary is just out of this world. Every single book of his I read, I learn new words that I've never seen before, and I've read a lot of his books. There's 400 hours of just the Henty books, so your kids will learn geography, they'll learn language, they will learn history, and they will learn character. Yeah.
And I know you have more we can talk about. I want to say two things real quick, but one, I mean, some of the topics that he covers are really, really not often discussed anywhere else. I mean, there's some very, European wars that no one really, unless you're really into history, would ever read anything about. So that's one thing I really like about it. But two, I think you mentioned, how it's having the image in your mind, you're creating the movie in your mind. And I found that actually takes practice. Like if you are used to just screens and stuff like that, it actually takes some time to get your mind to get used to that. Especially, I think that's why it's so important as kids to read and listen to things, is to develop that and get used to being entertained through just thinking and imagining, because I think movies, which I love movies and, and games and things like that are great, but I found I kind of fell out of practice within my ability to easily imagine things, as well as I stopped reading as much during certain periods of my life. So that's something I think is really valuable to have a consistency of, if you can.
And Henty is very descriptive too, so that he kind of draws a picture in your mind for you, which helps. Yeah.
Well, hey, before I ask my next question, we want to thank Redeem Healthshare by Samaritan Ministries for making today's show possible. If you're like others I've talked to, maybe the changes in the Affordable Care Act have you worried. Can I encourage you to check out Redeem Healthshare? It's Christians helping other Christians with their healthcare needs, and I think they just might be the solution to your concerns. They have multiple programs and options to fit the budget and your season of life. We've been members for over 15 years and couldn't be happier. Wow. You can learn more about Redeem Healthshare in the show notes below.
And also, we do want to say thank you to Teaching Textbooks. And, we're talking about tools that are great for homeschoolers. And honestly, Teaching Textbooks for our family is our number one tool, obviously, when it comes to math, but it's maybe one of our favorites as well. But it's just super engaging. My daughter loves it. She learns extremely well with it. This has been her favorite year in math, just because she gets to use the full Teaching Textbooks curriculum. So if you haven't checked them out before, check them out over at teachingtextbooks.com.
Well, hey, Jim, I've got a question, though. Maybe it's a statement at the same time. I know that, audiobooks sometimes are a hard sell to our kids if they've not been doing it, only because they're like, well, where's the images? And, but what I found, kind of Ben was saying, as soon as it's such a valuable tool, that don't you think, not to say, you need to buy my product because you need to force your kids to listen to it, but don't you think it's worth going through that first 15 minutes of, do I have to?
Absolutely.
And you open something up that's so much better maybe than just watching something on a YouTube channel.
For the Henty novels in particular, especially if you're going to start, I wouldn't even try them for anyone younger than 10. I think 10 is about a good break point before somebody's going to be able to digest a 13 and a half hour book. I tell parents, you have to tell your kids you need to listen to 2 chapters. You have to listen to 2 chapters. That'll be about an hour, because it takes a little while to get into the cadence and the speaking style of Henty. He was a 19th century, Cambridge educated, man of the world, military guy, a world traveler as a reporter for the newspapers in London, and he's not writing Dick and Jane. That's not the level. So he does take a little bit of getting used to, like Ben was saying. You gotta kind of get yourself into that. But that's the trick right there. What you said, make them, say you've got to listen to X amount of time. And by then, the story has started getting going. They're getting used to the narrator's voice and tone and cadence and the author's manners of speaking. And frankly, you learn how to write by hearing good writing.
So really, this is the job of kind of a parent, because I know that, if we left our kids to their own devices, they would never try almost anything. My brother, who was good in sports, and yet my parents made him play football because he didn't want to play football. I don't want to play that. And, and they knew more than he.
Yeah.
And so they made him play, and lo and behold, he liked it. They also made him be in the band. He didn't like that, but he found that out. So,
A great way to introduce a reluctant person to an audiobook is to say, let's drive to soccer practice. That's going to take half an hour. While we're going, let's listen to this. And, maybe you would rather annoy your sister or your little brother in the back seat of the car, or you could listen to this story. And what I have heard, I don't know how many times, the kids don't bicker in the car when they're listening to an audiobook. In fact, Jim, you won't believe this, but it once took us 8 hours to drive to Grandma's, and we pulled in the driveway, and the kids were like, "No, don't turn off the car. We want to hear the end of the chapter," because they will get involved in that story.
Right. I remember that. I always think of. I just remember one time the car was running in. I think it wasn't. I don't know. And they were in the middle of the winter, and I was laying on the floorboards on the floor because it was warm, and I was trying to finish the Focus on the Family audio drama as one of the Narnian books, Okay. And it was because at the time I had only listened to it on the radio, so I was like, well, I can't not finish it. So I was just like laying there trying to, because you just get so into it, but
you get involved in the story.
And you have a bunch of stuff, not just Henty. I mean, I'm looking at like Swiss Family Robinson, which is one of my favorite books of all time, or Treasure Island, or maybe what are some of the other things that you do have audiobook wise, and maybe some recommendations as well.
What would you start out with? If you wanted to like hook your kids, what would you
How old are
them?
they? How old are they?
Oh, we'll say you're, go ahead, Ben.
No, yeah. I mean, maybe do groups. Maybe do like if you had like the 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old, if there is anything you have for that, and then that older 10 on.
Yeah, if you go to the website, there's a young listeners collection. That's where you go for the kid stuff. There's Christian biographies. There's U.S. history. There's goofy little stories about Uncle Wiggily in the woods. There's a lot of simple stuff for young listeners. I just started recording the Hardy Boys, the original 1929 and later books are falling into the public domain. And the day they are public domain, I've already got that book recorded, edited, and ready to drop on day one.
Nice.
And so those are fun for, you can go 7 or 8 with those all the way up to high school if you want to. I have an overtly Christian line. I've got old time radio shows. I've got 119 different opportunities, almost 1,000 hours of audio at Jim Hodges Audiobooks. So, to peruse the website, I guess, because the biographies are great. Uncle Wiggily is great. Susan Marlowe, Todd, you probably know Susan Marlowe. She does the Circle C Adventures and such. She writes a lot of books about California Gold Rush era. A lot of her books are on there, and I loved recording those because the characters in the book were pretty a generic character so that I knew exactly the right voice to give to the old time prospector who's been, living like in a tent in the dirt for 20 years trying to pan for gold,
You had to knock out a few teeth for that one.
Well, no, you just talk like this.
Yeah.
Throwing on accents and things like that. I love a French accent. I love a Southern accent, and so I really have a lot of fun with it, especially the younger kids stuff. I can really go kind of be silly with those voices, whereas with the older characters, you pretty much need to make them sound as official as possible. But I got to tell you, I mean, I love reading out loud to kids. In fact, just last Thursday, I volunteered for the first time at a local homeschooling group, and when the kids were eating lunch, I sat, near the stage with a microphone and read King Arthur to them, just because I like to do it.
Wow,
and
that's pretty fun.
And the moms were like, "Yeah, come and do that." And so I have a lot of fun doing it. I think there's so much on the website. I would have a hard time telling you where to start. I would rather you just come and take a look and listen to samples and pick something that you think you'll like.
So you can also hire Jim Hodges for birthdays and bar mitzvahs.
There you go.
Have him come and read.
Real quick, I want to give a couple real quick for the Henty books, because I was just looking through the ones that you have recorded, so I didn't say ones that you hadn't. But I think, like, for boys, some of the ones that stood out to me back in the day, as I loved Young Carthaginian, loved that one. We already talked about Beric the Briton. That one's a great, obviously classic. That one I feel like might be one of the most well-known ones. I don't know. I just feel like I see that one the most often in terms of talked about. Wolf the Saxon's really good. The Dragon and the Raven, I really liked.
You like the ancient history ones.
Yeah, I really liked those periods. And I also felt like those were some of the most action packed. Some of the other ones, like I didn't like Cataboubassis quite as much personally, because I like the war. I love the military side of it. The story's still great. And Freedom's Cause was great. And Winning His Spurs was really good. There's so many good ones. Is the Line of St. Mark? No. What's the one where they defend they defend Malta, I think, and the Knights Templar and everything?
No, it's the Siege of Rhodes. A Knight of the White Cross.
Which one was?
Siege of Rhodes.
That's what it was.
Night of the White Cross.
Night of the White Cross. That was a great one. Yep, there it is. There, I see it there. Yeah.
So there's two Henties that I always, if you want to start your 10-year-old on a Henty novel, there's two that I always pick. Dragon and the Raven. I pick that because it's only 7 hours and 40 minutes long. It's a short one. And the other one is Under Drake's Flag.
Yes, that's
because
a great one.
It's light on the history but heavy on the adventure, and it gets to the story really quickly. Like by the end of the first chapter, you're on the ship and you're heading out to sea. So those are two that I often recommend for initial first-time Henty novels. And then they're listed on the website. It says the date that is covered, the time period that's covered in each one. So I don't know if you can sort them chronologically, but you can certainly look at them and find out what is, coordinate with what you're studying in history now. Or just let the kids pick one. Let them pick one. It doesn't have to be related to what you're studying in school. If you give the kid the choice of which one to listen to, they're going to be much more likely to listen to it.
Hey
Jim,
options, right?
go ahead.
They don't have to. You can purchase it straight out, or you also have other options as well.
I do.
That's what I was going to say, because you started this when it came on little cassette tapes, and then you went to CDs. And now you've gone, you're doing something exciting now. You're getting ready to start something new. You want to tell us about that, how they can get a hold of that?
It started today.
Wow.
Today was I can't believe that you asked for today, because I have a streaming service now. So you don't have to purchase a CD. You don't have to download anything. It's not going to cost you $18 for one CD. Or one download, or $6.99 a month to join the Download a Month Club. No. You can join the streaming service for $6.99 a month and listen to everything.
Ooh, that's a good deal.
Stream.jimhodgesaudiobooks.com.
Say that one more time.
Stream.jimhodgesaudiobooks.com.
Wow.
Which
And
that
I think
is a
Ben's going
deal.
there now. And you can sign up. If you scroll down the page, all of the different categories that are available are listed down there. You can click on them and open up and see all of the titles and the duration and the author and, all that stuff. And here's the cool thing. So it's hosted on a website called Thinkific, but you still get there at stream.jimhodgesaudiobooks.com. Once you have an account for $6.99 a month, Mom, you can open up a story on your phone. The kids, if they have devices, they can open up a different story on their phone. So if you got 8 kids and they've all got devices, you can have 8 different stories going at the same time for the whopping price of $6.99 a month. And we're just really,
That's awesome.
Dirt cheap.
Compared to like Audible or something like that, that's
1,000 hours worth of audio, all the age groups. I mean, I could make it free, I guess, but that would be the next step. I couldn't get any better than this except making it for free, and I can't do that. So I got to charge you something because it's business.
Totally. No.
Well, that's super exciting, and I hope we were planning on talking about other tools, but we're gonna have to make this part 2.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to do another show. But I think this is a great tool. I think there are a lot of moms, a lot of families who will want to take advantage of this. And again, we'll have all the link there for you to connect. And again, if you've never stepped down this little path, I think you're going to be surprised by how wonderful it is. I think your kids. I mean, here's Ben, who hasn't been in school for a long time, who still can recall these books.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
And all those years later,
looking for with Lee and Virginia tape that you gave me all those years ago, but I couldn't find it.
Oh my gosh, on cassette?
Yep, on cassette. Yeah, I found a couple others. I have some other old cassettes that I got from the library back in the day that I didn't want to get rid of. But
that's funny.
yeah, but I was saying so what our kids do right now is we have an iPad we let the kids keep in their room. We don't let them use the iPad, but we lock it to you can use guided access mode where basically they can't get out of an app specifically. So we let them listen to we do a Disney podcast and they love listening to our own podcast. So I know it's family friendly, but you could do that with your child if you had something like access to that, just letting them listen to these audiobooks, lock the device right to only that app. I think that is such a valuable, wonderful thing. I mean, audiobooks have been a massive part of my life. As a kid, we would always listen to the Henty books or Swiss Family Robinson, whatever it was. Wasn't Jim Hodges at the time. The Swiss Family Robinson wasn't.
Right.
When we were playing Lego at the age of 10 or 8, or listening to the Hobbits on Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, whatever, and we'd always just listen to an audiobook my whole entire life, pretty much anytime I was in my room.
Well,
so
here's
it's a
the
big
best
deal.
part about, to me, the best part about Jim Hodges' audiobooks is not that I did the recording, but that I know that any kid could walk into any room where anything that I've produced is playing and you have no fear of what they might
there's
hear.
no
content,
surprises.
Absolutely no surprises.
Yeah, and that's a great thing.
Let me correct myself. In With Lee and Virginia, Ben, you may or may not
That
remember
is the
this.
controversial Henty book. That is,
Of course
honestly.
it is. There's one line, there's one character that calls a slave the N-word.
Yes.
And before I read that line, I step out of the story and say, hey kids, I need to tell you something. One of the characters in this book, the author has him using a terrible, terrible name for people that were from Africa. And I'm going to read it because that's what he said, but I never, ever want to hear you mutter this word out of your mouth because it's a terrible, terrible word. But I'm going to read it because that's what the author wrote and that's what this character said, and that'll show you what a nasty guy this guy is. And then I read his line. So it's the only time that I felt like I needed to give a caveat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Jim, we're out of time here. It's been a great conversation. Again, I hope that every mom listening will put this tool in their toolbox, because I think it's going to be one that your kids are going to go to for a long time and then remember it forever. So, Jim, thanks for joining us. Thanks for being a part of our lives. And
Oh man,
we're glad you're still doing it.
I love you guys. I really do. Running into you guys on the homeschool convention circuit has just been, I'll tell you, I've made so many friends in that realm. I miss doing conventions. I stopped doing them a couple of years ago. I'm just getting too old for that. And I just had a heart attack, for crying out loud. I think I'm done with the massive traveling for work thing. But I really appreciate you
That's awesome.
having me on. And Ben, you just made my week with all of those
Good.
memories of listening to my audiobooks. I think
Well,
that's
thank you.
fantastic.
No, it's
Really
good to see
exciting
you
for
again.
me.
We really appreciate
Good to
it.
see you too, buddy.
All right, well, real quick here, we do want to say thank you to Teaching Textbooks for making this all possible. They allow us to do this. Go support them at teachingtextbooks.com. And thank you, Samaritan Ministries and Redeem Health Share, where members are committed to honoring Christ and serving one another through healthcare needs. As Dad likes to say, we use and love and recommend Samaritan Ministries, and you can learn more in the show notes about Redeem Health Share by Samaritan. So everyone have a great week, and don't forget to smile.